Hello, my name is Akash Gupta, and today my team and I will be talking about differences in business communication between the East versus the West. Differences in business communication between the East versus the West tell us a very real truth, and that is that people who grow up in different cultures tend to communicate in very different ways. For example, you can have one person from one culture and someone from another. They can have a conversation, and after that conversation, they can walk away from it with completely different conclusions just based on how they communicated with one another. That is why it is imperative that we put the time in as future business people to understand each other's cultures and where we come from to communicate more effectively. Welcome aboard Flight 33. Please fasten your seatbelts, place your tray tables in the upright and locked position as we get ready for takeoff. Our first stop is going to be Taipei, Taiwan. Let's go say hi to Amy.
Thank you, Akash. 大家好，早安. Hello everyone, good morning. As a born and raised Taiwanese, let me share 3 business communication traits in Taiwan. First of all, we don't bluff, and we really don't know how to bluff. If we can't do A, we will let you know that we can't do A. It's that simple, and we never overpromise. So for example, as a supplier, we would never tell you that we could deliver 100 units when we can only provide 95. That might sound stupid to some people, but it also makes us trustworthy business partners. Second, when in a group meeting or discussion, we tend to listen first before sharing our own ideas. In our culture, we're taught to be quiet in class and just process everything on our own. It could be surprising to you that we have almost 0 in-class discussions or interactions with our classmates or the teachers before entering college. So that's why listening has become our default setting. Last but not the least, our harmony-seeking nature. In the real business world, it's common to have disagreements in a team. But instead of trying to defend our own point of view, we usually just compromise. Our culture was strongly influenced by Confucius. And here's an important quote by him. As you can see right here, it reads, 以和为贵, which means harmony should be given priority. So when in a disagreement, we seek peace and we avoid any kind of awkwardness or confrontation. Well, thank you very much for staying at Taipei, Taiwan. Our next stop, New Delhi, India, with Ravish.
Thank you, Amy. Now, as most of you might know, this was the traditional Indian greeting, Namaste, which can be used both as a hello and a goodbye. Now, in traditional Indian business meetings, a handshake is expected, but you have to be really perceptible when the person opposite you is from a different gender. If he, she, or they extend their hands, you go for the handshake. But if not, you always have Namaste to fall back on. Second thing, small talk is of paramount importance in India. Okay? We believe in investing in relationships. So, as your mutual comfort grows, expect to be asked personal questions. And if you can, ask them back. Third thing, Indian standard time. Or rather, scratch that, Indian stretchable time. Junior executives are expected to be on time for the meetings. But as you climb the seniority ladder, expect some delay in their arrivals. Fourth, we have a strict problem in saying the word no. So we come up with phrases like we'll try or we'll see, and this Indian head nod, right? We all have seen it. So if it's a gentle head nod, a slow head nod, that means we are disagreeable. And if it's an emphatic head nod, that means we are enthusiastic, we are energized, all right? So finally, as many of you would go to India, just be aware of the cultural diversity, okay? Don't make any generalizations, because as the famous economist Joan Robinson said, whatever you can rightly say about India, the opposite is also true. So, thank you, and now we take a flight to Greece.
Thank you, Ravish. As someone who grew up on the island of Crete, Greece, I want to share some good business practices of the Eastern Europe side. First of all, Eastern Europe is a very different part of the world. It takes some Eastern tendencies as well as some Western ones. For example, the common greeting in Greece is to shake hands, as I just did. However, you will often see people give one cheek and kiss each other's cheeks. When going into business practices in Greece, it's best to do whatever the other person initiates. So if someone is more casual, you can follow them. In general, a handshake is best. Second, Greece is a very casual and relaxed country. Oftentimes, most of your business meetings will happen over coffee or frappé. These will often happen throughout the day or in a very casual setting, and most of the times, the other people in the meeting will be a little bit late. Instead of an 8:30 meeting, it might be 8:40, 8:50. However, as a representative of somewhere not from Greece, it's best that you still show up on time to be respectful. Finally, Greeks and most Eastern Europeans are very passionate. So on the board, this is the word pathiasmenos, which means passion. It comes from the word pathos. We often have very strong body language. We use our hands a lot when speaking. And other things, for example, when we say no, we use certain motions. So for example, we tilt our head up and we make a noise, like this. It's best not to take these things personally or directed at you. Greeks are just very emotional, and we love expressing that. Keep that in mind in your business meetings. Finally, before we move on, it's important to notice the differences between Eastern and Western Europe. While both are in the same region of the world, they share very different business practices. For example, the western part of Europe is a little bit more organized, precise, and on time. Before you travel anywhere, just make sure you research before you arrive. Our final stop is going to be in Boston, Massachusetts with Jesse.
Thanks, Nat. All right, welcome to Boston. We're loud, we're rude, and we're opinionated. The end. Just kidding. So, in all seriousness, today I'm here to talk about business communications in the Western world and business communication and how it differs in the East. So, for starters, as many of you from Texas know, we love our football and we love sports. So much, in fact, that we use certain references all the time in our business communications. For example, you might be with your team in the business school here and say something along the lines of, "Oh, it's been a crazy week, let's punt on that marketing case." Or something more formal when a CEO is doing a board meeting and says on the call to the investors, "Oh man, we just did a home run on these performance numbers this quarter." As you can see here, it can be very, very casual in our conversations, but that casualness can also come outside of the office as well. For instance, a lot of times some important deals and a lot of our partnerships are actually formed on the golf course. This helps as a fun activity, and it can bring collaboration, and it can also have fun between different parties and build trust and establish relationships over the long term. Number two, you want to be very simple when you're trying to get your point across. It's best to be simple and very direct when you're trying to get from point A to point B. This is a sign of respect because the Western culture really values time and efficiency. And this can also lead to trust and transparency when you're trying to get your message across. Also, in general, simple language is always preferred. You don't want to use really fancy jargon and big words because it's better to keep things simple and not make it overcomplicated. Number three, a lot of different words can have different meanings all across the country. For example, when I'm traveling in Boston with my friends, and we get lost, of course, we might say, "Oh, we got to make a U-turn," but I might say something along the lines of, "Let's bang a Yui." Another great example could be something more simple like pop versus soda, or even the formal hello versus, in the South, "Hey y'all." As you can see here, communications can be interpreted many different ways across the country, and it's best that we know that because we, as Westerners, might understand that context, but Eastern natives might find that they might get lost in translation when they're trying to understand it. So it's really important to know your audience. So, with that being said, I'm going to now hand it off to my good friend Akash, our captain, who's going to take it home.
Thank you, Jesse. In conclusion, there's still much more we have to learn about differences in communication styles between different cultures, especially between the East versus the West. But one thing is for certain, and that is that as a manager of a diverse team, it is imperative that you understand the different cultures that comprise your team and the different communication styles of your team members. And that is especially true in today's smaller, more global, and more connected world. Team 33 and Flight 33 thanks you for coming along with us today on our journey from East to West, and we hope you fly with us again in the future. Thank you.